Well, tell Twilight you want to quit. If it's not making you happy, find something that does. He replied quietly. Simple as that. He said as the subway train arrived at Horizon Station. They rode the escalators up to the street level. Horizon Labs was just a big, dark, glassy block. Her mouth moved before she dropped her gaze. It's not so simple. She looked at him. Do you like fighting? Does that make you happy? She asked as they trotted towards the bar south of the subway station. Nope. But my friends need me. Equestria needs me to fight, he replied casually. Well, it's the same for me, Maripony replied quietly as she hung her head. At least, that's what every pony keeps saying. Mari, is there something you need to tell me? He asked with a worried look. The blue unicorn just shook her head. Nothing. It's nothing. Then she smiled at him and pulled herself together. Let's just have another great night together. I don't want to think about ministry business or Twilight Sparkle at all tonight. He looked at her and then nodded as they strolled into town. Down in the pool hall, she at once lit up in glee at the game. In short order, she was lining up shots, and then she magically produced a chalkboard and slide rule and started working out shots while Macintosh just looked on. Of course, executing her precisely measured shots was another matter entirely, and more often than not, she sent the cue ball bouncing away from where she had wanted it to go. Macintosh, on the other hand, simply gripped the stick in his mouth and braced it against his hoof and took a shot, and, much to Maripony's dismay, sunk more balls than she did. Clearly there's an element I'm not accounting for, she murmured as she brought 2 plates of daffodil and daisy salad with apple slices. He just smiled, and she arched a brow and gave a little smile of her own. Aren't you going to tell me what I'm missing? A small knot of ponies in white uniforms who'd been playing cards at a nearby table were watching the pair, nodding their heads in our direction. I figured you'd rather just figure it out yourself. If you need me to tell you, y'all ask. He replied as he munched on the clean, fresh food. Oh, so delicious. She looked pleased at his reply. You know, you're the only person who will do that for me. Every pony else, if they knew I need to know something, they'll trip all over each other just trying to give me the answers. They never stop to think maybe I'll find the answer out myself. Twilight, too? He asked, and instantly her mood was blown away. Sorry. I'd put a word in with Applejack, but if you'd like her to talk to Twilight about your problems at Pleasant Valley. No, she sighed. Hey, cutie. Is this Mare Mook giving you trouble? The unicorn buck asked as he trotted up with his 3 buddies. He had an anchor for his cutie mark. Maripony looked at Big Macintosh and then back at the 4 sailors. Trouble? Not particularly. Yeah? Why don't you come over to our table? I know all kinds of tricks we can teach you involving balls and shaft. He chuckled. Oh, I knew some pony about to get his rump rearranged. I could smell booze on his breath. Not enough to make him weak, but probably enough to make him stupid and dangerous. You need to get back to your game, sailor, Big Macintosh said firmly. Every pony's having a nice time. Don't need to spoil it. The brown unicorn scowled up at Big Mac. You listen here. You came all the way to our pool hall. The least you can do is let us enjoy the company of your mare friend. And in case you didn't notice, there's 4 of us and only 1 of you. Yep. So I reckon you'd best go and round up a few more, so it's a fair fight. He replied. You might want to sober up, though. Make sure this is a fight that you can handle. We should go, Maripony said in concern, looking around. The conversation had suddenly generated a lot of interest from the other sailors. Oh? You think I can't handle you? You think I can't handle you? The unicorn laughed and grinned at Big Macintosh. Big Macintosh tensed his muscles as the unicorn buck whirled around and smashed his rear hooves into Macintosh's chest. Macintosh didn't budge. The unicorn went sprawling onto his face. "I'll chuck that up to y'all being drunk," the red pony said evenly. Eyes glaring, the brown unicorn picked himself up, lifted a chair, and sent it flying at Macintosh. The crimson buck knocked it away with his hoof. "And that to y'all being stupid. You don't get a third." He nodded toward the sailors had been playing. "Y'all go back to your game, folks. Otherwise this is going to get bad." "Oh, it's going to get bad. And it's going to get real bad." The brown unicorn yelled as he lunged, rearing to smack Macintosh in the face. Big Macintosh caught the descending hooves with one limb, and then powered his other forehoof straight into the sailor's gut. The unicorn's breath whooshed out as he doubled over, wheezing and sputtering, then became violently ill. "Let's go, Maripony," he said as the others rose to their hooves. "But I don't understand. What's wrong with showing me tricks?" Maripony asked, then frowned. She rubbed her nose, looking at the pool table, then the sprawling buck. Suddenly her eyes popped round and blue behind her glasses. Was he? Yup. Now we need to be going," he said firmly as the pair backed out of the pool hall. It was starting to drizzle out. "Let's hurry up. Some folks don't have the sense Celestia gave a bag of beans." "But can't you just tell them you're a sergeant and, I don't know, order them to go away?" Maripony asked as they trot quickly down the street. A glance backwards confirmed that the unicorn and his friends were following. "There ain't been a rank that's invented that could compete with Admiral Drunk and General Ticked Off." Big Macintosh frowned. "They'll be right sorry in the morning, but I'm more worried about dealing with them right now." The pair had nearly reached the subway station when a dozen more sailor bucks trot up to the stairs. They took one look at the pair and then moved to block the entrance. Maripony and Big Macintosh were forced into the abandoned Horizon Labs parking lot. "I want you to get out of here, Maripony. Don't worry none about me." "I'm not going to leave you to a mob," she cried. "Get him!" they shouted. "Sneaky earth pony," called another. "He's disrespecting the uniform. Probably a stripe lover." "He's a sergeant! He's a soldier!" Maripony yelled. But from the fever of the crowd and the reek of alcohol that they either weren't hearing her or didn't care as they surrounded him and knocked her back. The shouting sailors piled on at once, while he knocked them away. At first, even he couldn't prevent them from piling on. Still, I was amazed that despite the beating, he really wasn't all that hurt, even as he disappeared under them. Then Maripony let out a yell, and at once Big Macintosh moved. I'd never felt that kind of strength before as his body lunged and lurched and launched half the ponies into the air in rolling arcs. A kick behind him knocked a half-dozen flying. Now that powerful frame was all action as he battered the sailor ponies like a force of nature. No, I take that back. There was nothing excessive about his force. For all his strength, he kept his kicks, shoves, and bites controlled and precise. I marveled at the focus and the care he took in preventing severe injury to the sailors. Then the brown unicorn, who had stared the whole time, lunged at him with a drawn knife. There was a purple flash and a shriek as Maripony appeared between his side and that plunging blade. She staggered, glasses falling as a 3-inch gash appeared on her shoulders, blood spreading along her dress as her purple eyes stared at the injury in shock. "Oh, my. That went differently in my head." Big Macintosh looked at her standing beside him, bleeding, then looked at the buck holding the floating knife. His body came up and his hooves crashed down. The unicorn was struck with such force that he bounced like a ball filled with crunchy twigs. Then he lay still. "This fight is over," Macintosh bellowed. You've just attacked an officer and injured a civilian. Now they were murmuring in, as sense began to reassert itself, and many of the sailors started to realize the amount of trouble they were in. You three drag that to the medic, Mac ordered before turning back to Maripony. Okay, that's deep. Take the dress off. We'll have to use it as a bandage.
Oh, no. No. You don't need to do that. I'm fine. It's just blood, just a lot of blood.
She stammered as he stared into her eyes. Purple eyes. She dropped her gaze, and he slowly lifted the hem of her dress to expose the purple and pink starburst on her flank. Twilight.
I, wanted to tell you earlier,
she stammered. He frowned, then looked at the dress. She took it off, folded it over, and pressed it to the injury. Don't worry about that now, Ministry Mayor, he replied flatly as he looked around at the sailors. Can you teleport with that injury? Get yourself to the hospital.
There's a quick care around the corner,
Twilight said softly.
Hopefully they won't ask too many questions.
Twilight kept her eyes low in shame, her magic holding the makeshift bandage to her wound as the two walked carefully back. So, how'd you magic your appearance? Rarity? Big Mac asked in a low, slightly hurt voice.
Yes. She's developed a surprising number of spells to alter her pony's coloring in Maine. Minor transfiguration magic that can, well...
She faltered, her ears drooping as she limped beside him.
I couldn't get it to change my eye color, so I had her enchant the glasses. And no magic can change a cutie mark, so I had to make sure it was covered.
She didn't say anything, and she murmured lamely.
Been trying to make a magic decal that would cover it, but it didn't quite work right.
And you always kept the lights off when we were in bed together. Thought you were just being shy, he murmured.
I was being shy, Macintosh,
Twilight said with a furious blush on her blue cheeks.
I didn't know how any of that worked beside the books. And most of what I knew about bucks I got from reading the Zebra Sutra. I never, ever imagined I'd do it, let alone with you.
I was wondering where you learned some of those positions, he murmured as they approached the Quick Care 24-hour medical service. So, why the disguise?
It was the only way I could get away, Macintosh,
Twilight replied, looking up at him with pleading eyes.
You don't understand. Every minute of my day is scheduled. Meetings, presentations, openings, project reviews. I'm lucky if I can find a few hours to myself. If I ever let go somewhere on my own, everybody who sees me recognizes me. I'm not supposed to go anywhere in Equestria without a dozen OIA security ponies around me at all times. It's like that for all of us. Rarity and Fluttershy have to clear a spa meeting with 50 ponies just for an hour-long time together.
And me, he said quietly. Why didn't you tell me, Twilight?
I wanted to, she said lamely. I meant to on our first date, a sort of surprise, nice to see you again. But we had such a nice time, and for the first time I really enjoyed myself. I didn't feel like I was a ministry mayor. And you were different too.
What do you mean?
Remember when the Marauders helped clear out Splendid Valley? I came to talk to you, asked you how you were doing. Would you like to get lunch? She said as she looked at him. Do you remember what you said to me?
Said it wasn't proper for a soldier to be soliciting a ministry mayor.
Exactly. So if I told you the truth, would you have kept seeing me? Would you have kept sleeping with me?
She asked pointedly, and his ears folded back as he frowned in worry.
Twilight sighed. Well, I guess that's all over. Funny. I was looking forward to this date for days.